Hey, Sling Dave, call this number back. I need $25 for this walk around sit down chair.
Production.
Watch this.
Good evening. Thank you for those of us who are joining us live on Facebook, on YouTube, and welcome to our new night, which is Thursday nights moving forward for Been Around the Block. A very special welcome to those who are joining us for the first time. This is episode 51 of Been Around the Block. We've grown to be something that we feel like is starting to make an impact. In just the last 90 days, we've been able to reach 2.2 million people, and actually in the last week, 1.8, I think, according to one of our metrics. Please don't forget to like, share, and follow our page to continue to be a part of this movement. Our goal at Been Around the Block is to continue our mission to help destigmatize addiction and prove that not only your life won't be boring, but the best years are yet to come. Even if you don't identify with what our mission is, these stories of triumphing over adversity are something that we can all identify with. We also need to note that Been Around the Block is in no way associated with, affiliated, nor endorse any specific program or recovery. Our view is that your story is your story, and there are many ways that people are able to recover their lives from the bondage of addiction. One of our goals is to prove that no matter how we get there, we're all able to live the life that God has intended for each and every single one of us. Without any further ado, I'm Brooke Southard, one of your gracious hosts. We got Christopher Ross, also one of our hosts, and our favorite national content creator, Bradley Nemo Sparks. And of course, our guest for episode 51, one of our good friends, Rob Decker, joining us from Colorado Springs, Colorado. How's everybody doing tonight?
What's up? Doing well?
Good, man.
Sorry, guys.
You good?
Okay, I'm good.
You good? You good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Man, so it's weird. It feels like it's been how many weeks? At least a couple weeks.
It's been a month, I think.
So, and coming up, Been Around the Block is going to be back in a studio audience we're not like TV, but we're going to be in a live studio space coming up. So we're going to have face-to-face podcast interviews moving forward. So how you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great. I'm doing amazing. I'm like on cloud nine.
Okay.
I can barely hear you.
I just turned him up, man. He was talking like much louder before we got online.
I said that. I said I was saying that I'm doing all right. I'm on cloud nine. How about you? How you doing, Nemo?
Man, I'm good, man. Just life's crazy. It's hectic. The 2-year-old is making me want to pull my hair out, but other than that, I mean, I can't complain. I stay busy.
Well, this is awkward. No.
That was real awkward. Yeah, I think
No.
awkward.
So, Rob, what time is it there in Colorado? You're in Colorado Springs, right?
6:07, my man. Yeah, we're Mountain Standard Time.
Okay, so a little bit, yeah. So we're at 7:07 right now. So, you just had somebody call in from the TV station. Now, what were you saying that you were helping do? I'll let you kind of explain that.
Yeah, so I run mental health recovery centered softball teams here in Colorado Springs, and so a local TV station is running a story on us, and they're doing it in English and Spanish. So they're going to have us on the morning show, but also have us on Telemundo. So we were just trying to get the interviews lined up before the game started. And then right when we're done here, I'm going to fly out to the ball field so that they can interview me as well. And so, we've got a lot of notoriety and attention with what we do here in the community. The Gazette, our local newspaper, they're writing a story on us as well. And I'm just grateful, man, because like you guys, I want to take the shame out of addiction, and I want people to be able to get the help that they need to get, without feeling judged,
For sure. Hey, I just want to say, man, I'm excited that you're on because I don't think you realize, like, over the past, we've been trying to get you on, and just life keeps happening. Yeah. But every time that I'm like going through something, you always reach out to me on Messenger, man, and speak life into me, bro. And I don't ever tell you like how much that means to me, but it means a lot, bro. And I'll listen to your voice messages, and even if I don't reply, just know that I'm listening, and it's helping me a lot, bro. I appreciate everybody that does that for me, man. But you've been doing that a lot for me, and it just it means a lot.
Oh,
and, your journey, everything about the way you do your recovery, I admire and love. So I'm excited about this story.
Well,
real.
thanks, brother, man. And I've been following you for quite some time, man. And I've seen your growth, and I've also seen the hate come your way. I've seen the misunderstandings come your way. And for a guy that's been sober myself for 12 years and built a nonprofit and had to deal with a lot of voices, I just want you to know that you're not alone. This is part of the process. It's, I just always encourage you, don't get too deep into the nonsense, because people will do whatever they can do to steal your energy and try to dull your shine. But that's their junk. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very encouraged and inspired by the stuff that you do and your method and approach to helping those in recovery and using humor to do so, man. So I admire you, bro. Congratulations on all your success.
And shout out to Casper. He shows a lot of love to us too, man. Shout out to Casper. And Dustin Wixon, shout out, y'all.
Yo, Rob, I see that. Okay, so I've been watching you on Facebook. Your son is really good at baseball.
Yeah. CJ's he plays up. He's been playing ball since he was 4 years old. He's always been the youngest kid on the team. I've been blessed, man, because I had a buddy who's in recovery, ex-military, was scouted by the Seattle Mariners. Matt, my boy Kai, he's been putting in work with Caleb from day one. And so CJ's been able to play up for the last few seasons now, playing with kids. Like, some of those kids were 4 years older than him, man. And he's holding his own at such a young age. So thank you for that, man. His work on the field and in practice is definitely paying off.
What are you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Chris.
I'm
my
doing
nephew just woke up.
Oh, okay. Well,
sorry.
Yeah, let's jump into the story, man. Just wanted to throw this up as we go. Yeah. So jump in, man. Yeah.
Well, I'll make sure I tell CJ that you're paying attention, Chris. We appreciate that, man. I'm not shy about sharing my kid. So, and his abilities. It's almost like a light dad brag. You know what I'm saying? So as far as my story goes, dude, it really starts like most of us from childhood, childhood trauma and the things that we are exposed to. And I know for me at an early age, I found out at 5 that my dad wasn't my biological father. Came home one day and came home with a diploma from kindergarten, and it had my dad's last name on it. And so my dad and my mom sat me down to tell me that he wasn't my real father. And I think that made it was a form of rejection in my life and confusion, because not only, I understood that he was my dad for 5 years, but where's my biological father? Like, what's going on with that situation? And why isn't he around? And why isn't he present in my life? As time went on, man, I think you don't know, but that you get treated a little bit differently. I have a younger sister. The reason my dad and mom married, so when I refer to my dad, it was the one that raised me. It's not my biological father. He treated my sister a lot different than he treated me, and I think it really showed. And there was the things that I witnessed in my house with my mom and my dad fighting, the violence. And I'm 47, so I grew up in the 80s, where when domestic violence took place, it's like, dude, my dad would be under the influence and 2 hours later be out of jail, back in the house, and things would be, crazy again. When I was about 8 years old, one of the neighborhood kids molested me. He was my dad's, he was a neighbor, but my dad and him were friends. And because of my relationship with my dad, I didn't feel like I could share that kind of information with him. Shortly after that, I started getting really involved in pornography. I was probably 9 or 10 years old when I found my dad's stash. And I started, we had to watch VHS and magazines and all, like we had to look at magazines. And so you had to rewind it back to where you started watching it and placing the magazine back under the bed, the way you found it. but I think that started disrupting my thought process and molding on me on what intimacy looked like. And then when I was about 14 years old, my first girlfriend, her parents were out of town, and her dad's best friend came by the house to kind of check it out, keep an eye on us or whatever. And at this point, even though I'd witnessed a lot of drug and alcohol abuse in my house, because it was normal in my house, that was very normal to see a lot of that behavior in my house. My girlfriend's dad's best friend ended up buying us alcohol. This was the first time I ever drank or used. And I watched a grown man take advantage of my 14-year-old girlfriend. I think drinking that night showed me that I could numb my feelings, numb situations. I didn't have to worry about what was happening at home with mom and dad and all the dysfunction, the fights. But as far as intimacy and women were concerned, I think it just took me on this path of just being reckless. So more porn, more relationships, more drugs and alcohol. By the time I was 17 or 18, I remember going to the drive-ins and jumping out of the trunk of my buddy's car. We snuck into the drive-ins because that's what you do. And we were being loud and obnoxious. And some dude, started yapping at me. So I started yapping back. And he ended up pulling a shotgun out of the trunk. And I encouraged him to pull the trigger in front of all my friends. And at that point in my life, that's just kind of where I was at. Like, I was reckless. I was suicidal. I struggled with suicidal ideations from a young age. I remember cutting my wrists probably at 11 or 12 years old. Me and my buddy, we'd cut our wrists, and until my dad saw it one day and he got all pissed off at me. So I stopped doing it. I just started internalizing things a lot more. In the event, like when that dude pulled the shotgun out on me and everybody flipped out, the cops were called. And so the dude left the scene, cops show up, and, the cops were just trying to calm me down, but I was wilding out, and I ended up fighting like 5 cops and ended up in jail. The crazy thing is, that's the behavior that I saw with my dad. When I was saying that I saw domestic violence in my house, there were times where cops would come into my house and my dad was like taking on 4 or 5, 6 cops at a time. He was a pro fighter in the Marines. He was a pretty tough dude. But I started to emulate that behavior. So throughout all my 20s, bro, I was high. I was drunk all the time, sleeping around.
And this was the 90s, huh?
This was the 90s, bro. This is when rap got good, bro. This is when Tupac hit the scene and MWA, like, Gin and Juice, bro. Like, that's when, that brand of rap really started. So it was almost like rap music was raising me. The streets, my neighborhood. I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood in Northern California. So, I mean, it was Italians, it was Black, it was Mexican, it was Persian, it was white. Like, we had Native Americans, we had Mormons on the street, bro. We were just a mixed bag. So I was exposed.
You said Mormons?
Mormons, yeah. They didn't hang out with us, though.
Just
I guess they were raised up.
Just mixed bag. That's, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it was a mixed bag. I mean, their parents were smart enough to be like, yeah, you don't get to hang out with those guys, right? But I grew up with adversity. But throughout my 20s, man, like, the drinking got worse, the drug abuse got worse, and I eventually got involved with a young lady at about 29, and she was pretty young. She was about 20 years old, and we started dating. And dude, it was horrible. It was fun, but it was horrible. It was like exciting because it was so chaotic and so toxic. And I think at that point in my life, I just functioned that way. Like, if it wasn't toxic, like, it wasn't fun. And she eventually accused me of rape and attempted murder, which led me to a failed suicide attempt. I jumped headfirst out of a 3rd-story loft window with the intention of killing myself and, snapping my neck, and my foot clipped an awning. And I know, Brooks, like, I sent you a copy of my book, but God's Awning was really it's the central story that really changed my life and moved me in a direction of better living. But the reality of the situation after my suicide attempt, severing my spine, getting locked up I was basically locked up in the hospital. The cops came, hit me with charges, shackled me to the bed, and hit me with $1 million bond.
Jesus.
And yeah. The crazy part is, shackling me to the bed when I had a severed spine, 2 broken arms. I collapsed my lung in the fall because they felt like I was a flight risk. I wasn't going nowhere, man. I had dilaudid and morphine being pumped through my neck. It was
how old are you at this time?
I was 29 years old.
Okay.
So, and I'm going to say this as parents, you have to be careful the things that you say to your kids. So when I was growing up, I was told that I was going to be dead or in prison by the time I was 30 years old. I jumped out of that window 8 days after my 29th birthday. When I was falsely accused of rape and murder or attempted murder, there were cops on one side of the door and suicide or death on the other side of that window. And I opted to take control of the situation. So I thought, but we have to be mindful as parents of the things that we say to our kids, because you could plant some pretty damaging seeds. And so when that moment of truth, lying truth came about, like, well, this is the time, this is the moment, like, this is what was spoken in my life, kind of thing. And it was like, kind of like, self-fulfilling prophecy kind of stuff. And so, but even after I survived all that, eventually the charges got dropped. So when I was sitting in the hospital, I had a huge God moment. I was laying there and I was talking to God, and I asked him, what happens from here on out? And man, clear as day, with all the peace in the world, no pain, I just hear the charges will be dropped, bills will be paid, and you will walk again. See, I had just given my life to the Lord maybe 2 months prior to that. I was so far gone. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a license. I was doing blow, getting high, drunk all the time. Did I say I didn't have my L's? I didn't have my license. I was selling steroids. I was taking HGH myself. I wasn't doing much with my life. And so my buddy invited me to a Bible study. And that's where I gave my life to the Lord, not really understanding or encompassing what that meant. It was kind of like, for me, it was my last line of defense. Like, I have nothing going on in my life right now that is of value, so I'm going to give this a shot. So I had got saved, or I'd given my life up to the Lord maybe 2 to 3 months before I jumped out of that window. And so it was like, enter God into that room in the midst of all the chaos, the pain, the lights, the noises, the machines, the cop sitting next to me, and a peace came over me, and he spoke those words. And I remember coming to, and all the chaos, the noise, everything came back. And one of the cops that was watching me, because I had 24-hour surveillance, one of the cops that came in was like, yo, Decker, the county's going to drop the charges. Like, oh, like, man, that first thing that was spoken to me came to pass. At that point, a neurosurgeon came in. So I wasn't allowed to have guests because I was under arrest. So my mom's the first person that comes to visit me. I see her in the hallway. She's breaking down crying. The doctor just told her I'm never going to walk again. She comes in and she's just like, she's dying, man. My mom she's distraught. And I asked her what happened. And she said, nothing, son. And I said, Mom, did they tell you I'd never walk again? And she goes, yes, but everything's going to be okay, son. And I said, you know what? Everything will be okay. And because I know what God spoke to me, and the dropping the charges had just passed. So a neurosurgeon comes in while my mom's there and says, we're gonna try to perform another surgery. They perform another surgery. I'm down for a couple days. And I had like 2 10-hour surgeries on my back. Well, I had 3 altogether, but this was the second one. And I was able to get up out of my bed. I was able to drag my foot on the floor. Yeah.
How quickly?
Huh?
How quickly?
After the second surgery and being down for a couple days. So I would say,
damn, it's
maybe
still really quick.
Yeah, God's good, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it was brutal because I went from being a bodybuilder, Jack, bro. I was 215 pounds of solid muscle when I jumped out of that window. I mean, I look like a JUCO middle linebacker, right? I dwindled down in that hospital in 2 weeks down to about 155, 160 pounds from 215. I was so medicated. I couldn't eat. Like it just, and I got sucked up. I mean, to the point that the first time I was able to get up on my own and look in the mirror, I didn't even recognize that guy. The first time I saw myself in the mirror, I thought someone else was in the room with me because I didn't realize that was me looking at me. But I ended up spending the next 5 years rehabilitating myself, running back to drugs and alcohol. So I was pursuing a relationship with God while doing things my own way, while still self-medicating, getting loaded, running to coke, weed. And I came up on another, like God had to really, really grab a hold of me. I met my girlfriend, who's now my wife. I met her about, 5 years after my suicide attempt. And I had just got a hernia. I was working. I was training all the time. I was getting all big and jacked again. And I ended up getting a hernia, and I got upset that I couldn't work out for a couple weeks. So I threw a pity party and I got loaded. I bought some vodka, dropped my girl off at work, got some vodka, and just got hammered. I ended up running into somebody's property, running from the scene of the crime, falling into a creek, cutting myself up, hiding under a porch, and pleading with God to bail me out of a situation. See, in that moment, like I realized, man, I had attempted to take my life, and I was told I may never walk again, that I'd live off a disability, that I may never work again, that I'd be medicated for the rest of my life based on the severity of my injuries. And here I am under this house. I have a good job. I got a good lady, and I'm just throwing it all away. And just like that moment in the hospital where that peace came over me, again, I was like, God, here we are. And instead of speaking, it was more of a visual. And he showed me, it was like a vision of the amount of grace, patience, love that he poured into me over that 5 years of just giving me my life back. I'm working out. I'm doing well. I'm a sales manager at a job. I crushed it and earned the top spot at this new gym. I was crushing life, man. Met this beautiful young lady, Sicilian girl who just graduated college. Here I am, a 34-year-old freaking junkie, addict, alcoholic. And I meet this beautiful young woman who just graduates college, and I'm throwing it all away. I'm throwing all these blessings away. And when I realized what I had done, my heart broke in my chest because I realized how good God was to me. And in that moment, I just surrendered it all and said, if this is the life that you want me to live, I will serve you for the rest of it. I will never drink and use again. And I felt this heaviness just lift from me. It was like a weight vest just being taken off after a long workout. January 8, 2013 is when that happened. And I haven't drank or used ever since. And to be honest with you guys, no temptation, no desire to go back, none of it. It was just this supernatural experience where I was relieved of my self-medicating ways.
Let me ask you this real quick, and I'm not trying to cut you off on your story, but
no, you're good, man.
I get a lot of messages, that people that are at their wits' end and they pray the same prayer,
Yeah.
And what would you say to people that it doesn't happen to them like that?
But it didn't happen like that for me right away. right? Because it took me 5 more years after my suicide attempt, after taking away something that didn't really belong to me in my own life, right?
Yeah, that's not an overnight thing.
That was a 5-year process, right? So it just happened for me in that moment, because I knew that I wasn't going to let go of the drugs and the alcohol. And I asked God to deliver me from it. But see, his ways are better. That he knows what it's going to take for something like that to happen. I think that I delved in with him long enough over the next 5 years to get a good understanding of who he was. And then when I was shown that vision, it just broke me, because I'm like, at this point, I truly know better. I think that a lot of times, like, we do know better, but whether it be fear, an unwillingness to look at our past, unresolved relationships we have in our life, being molested, never talking about it, like whatever it is that lives inside of us, whatever the devil said to us and whatever lie that we attached ourselves to and we believed, like we just keep running back to it. I believe it can happen for anyone, but the way that it happens, I don't get to determine that, man. That's just my story. I believe that if you sincerely pursue the Lord, I believe that he will deliver you from it. How it happens, I can't tell you. Because again, I acted a fool for 5 more years, right? But Jesus became so central to my life that at this point, it was almost like I was pissing all over his goodness on my life. For what? Because I didn't want to take certain problems to him, because I didn't want to resolve certain traumas, because I didn't want to look at certain areas of my life, because I didn't want to forgive certain people because they're the reason that I am the way that I am. Because I think a lot of times in recovery or as addicts, we point the finger a lot, and we don't take accountability. And for me, I believe what happened under that house was full accountability. I'm going to take complete ownership. I'm going to take full accountability of the decisions that I'm making. Because for me, and everyone has a different perspective on recovery and addiction, I truly believed in my heart of hearts that I was consciously making a choice to do that to myself. And because I believe that, I looked at it in that light, that I was able to release it, because it was like, I'm no longer making that choice and I'm giving it all to you now, God. And so I just encourage anybody, whether you have to go to church, whether you have to go to a group or a therapy, or you have to find a recovery softball team, you have to find a community of like-minded individuals, and you have to be able to seek out the brokenness and the hurt in your life that leads you to not want to battle those demons. I took drugs and I drank alcohol to numb my demons, but I was feeding them. And that's the reality of it. I mean, the truth is, if you understand where the word alcohol comes from, alcohol, it's an Arabic word. It means flesh-eating spirit. You could drive down the street and you see spirits, right? It's alcohol. That should speak volumes to you. Pharmakia, pharmacy, taking drugs. And I know that sometimes in harm reduction, or some people are trying to get off something harder for something softer. So part of the journey may be using other things. The goal should always to be clean and clear.
Complete abstinence. Yeah.
That's where your true freedom is going to come, is not to have to lean into any of that stuff. But your process is your process. But pharmacy, if anyone knows what the word pharmakia means, it's actually spoken on in the book of Revelation, I believe. It means witchcraft or sorcery. So when I was ingesting drugs, I was almost performing a seance on myself. I was allowing another spirit to consume me. And it was almost like I accepted that. I knew, because I had sought out a relationship with the Lord, I knew what pharmacy meant, and I still chose to run to drugs at times. I knew what alcohol meant, and I still chose, because you're choosing one side or the other.
Did you ever have a moment, though, where you were saying, I don't want to do this, and you still make that choice?
100%. Okay. That's 5 years, bro. So 100%. I remember I would grab the liquor and I would put it to my mouth knowing it was the wrong decision. Bad idea. And I almost felt, I felt convicted, but it was almost depressing. It was like a form of self-sabotage. And in my weakness, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to break free from this without your help, Lord. And unfortunately, it took me to crash a car, run from the police, hide under a house. But I see God's grace in all of it. He allowed me to act a fool for so long. And I don't here's the thing. I'm not saying go out and go get loaded until God just delivers you. I mean, we have to consciously try to find ways to get better. Because my story is not your story. That's just how it unfolded for me. And of course, God is going to address me different than he's going to address any of you, right? We all came to sobriety in a different way, I'm sure. And some of us may have started in the rooms and ended up, somewhere else. And some of us may have just winged it and it worked. And then we found God. I don't get to determine any of that stuff when it comes to someone's recovery, but I battled it for a very long time. And so, and understanding all that, I've made it my life's work, like you, to meet people where they're at, give them the best advice that I can, to share my own story, because I believe in sharing story. I believe that when people hear about the things that I've been through, they can see themselves in my story. When I wrote my book, it wasn't to glorify me. It was to be vulnerable and transparent, as hard as it is to throw all your personal business out into the world. But that someone out there is counting on hearing your story in order to find freedom and find God, through my story. And so even when I wrote my book, I shelved it for 3 years.
I was going to ask, how did you get, what did just God speak to you and say,
yes,
you need to do this? That's what I was about to ask. Can
yes,
you kind of go into how, what inspired you to do that?
So it was crazy because one day, I just heard God say, you're going to write a book. And I laughed at him. I'm like, okay, that's cute. Right. And I left it alone, and I was sharing on social media. So I use Facebook like you guys do to encourage and inspire people. And someone said, you need to write a book. And I said, well, about that, I'm not a writer. But I've been told that I should write a book. And he said, well, I'm a writer. So if you look on my cover, the co-writer, he's the one that wrote my book. He helped write my book. And so he helped me write it. The way that I got the name for the book was one day I was just chilling and I was talking to God, and I said, what's the name of this book going to be? And he said, God's Awning. And I was like, oh, that's clever. My foot clipped an awning in the fall. It changed my fall, changed my life. And I left it alone.
It is a good title. That is a good title.
Yeah, that is
God's Awning. Well, here's the craziest part. Get ready for chills, boys. Couple weeks after that, I'm chilling, playing on my phone, wasting my life away, right? Playing tap baseball and or Candy Crush or something. And I swear I just feel this tug, and it's like, I need you to look up the word awning. So, in my mind, I'm like, well, I clipped an awning. Well, I look up the word awning, and it means a covering or protection. And I was so shook. My book was more than just clipping the awning. It's a lifetime of stories of his covering and protection when I never saw it. All those times he was with me in my drunkenness and abuse, my foulness, that he wept when I was doing the stuff I shouldn't have been doing. And here I am alive to talk about it, healthy and strong. Right. And so
from that
and recovered, man. I mean, delivered for me, it was delivered after 20 years, from 14 to 34 was 20 years of abuse, man. And, but even at one point in 2021, I shelved the book. I started reading the book, and the stories didn't line up exactly how I would tell them because I had him outright write the book, and I shelved the book. You guys play video games? Who plays Call of Duty? No one? No Call of Duty?
I play guitar, bro.
I hate video games.
I'm with you, bro.
I used to play Mortal Kombat back in the day.
I'll play Mortal Kombat. I got that on my computer, but that's
I was all Madden. I was Maddened out. But
Madden, FIFA, 2K.
Yeah, there you go. You got the brother playing soccer. Okay, bro.
There's a whole that's a whole rabbit hole if you want to go down
it. But so two really cool things happened when I shelved the book. One, I met my biological father, and it was like God was tugging at me. And at this point, my dad that raised me died. So he ended up calling me on the phone one day, and he says, "Hey, son, I don't know why you talk to me. I don't know why you love me. I did nothing but try to ruin you, and I never wanted you to be better than me." Those were the words from my dad that raised me from 6 months old. And what I heard in his voice was, "I'm sorry and I love you. And I'm taking responsibility for some of the things that happened to you in this life because I feel, like I had a role in that." And I was like, "You know what, Dad? I love you. And that's all that matters." I get a call 2 days later that he passed away. So he was trying to make peace before he went on. And I'm grateful for that because not everyone gets that, right? But I will say that in that process, I wasn't resented. So, and this was 10 years after I jumped out of the window. So, I had forgiven him a decade before before this phone call. And I think that through that forgiveness, and I can't stress how important forgiveness is, guys, that forgiveness also opened up the door for him to have that conversation with me. So after he passes away, a year or two go by, and I feel that tug. Hey, you need to reach out to your biological father. So I do. And I reached out to him, and he tells me, hey, buddy, how you doing? Just need to let you know I have 6 months to live. So he has stage 4 bladder cancer. Both of these men, alcohol and drug induced. My dad that had a heart attack was meth induced. He was high on meth. My biological father, drugs and alcohol, smoking most of his life. And here he has stage 4 bladder cancer, and I have 6 months to develop a relationship with him. And about 5.5 months into it, I went to Washington to basically say bye. And I had to say bye to my biological father. I went out there, and I remember I was about to leave, and I was holding his hand, and I said, "Hey, you know what? You've been forgiven. I love you. I don't care if you were there or you weren't there. Just know that I love you, and you can go be with God now. Go be with God." And my dad, Norwegian guy, we're pretty big bunch. I'm the runt, but they're pretty big bunch of dudes, right? He was frail, skinny, sucked up, barely breathing. I mean, he was on his final leg, and eyes sunken in. You can see his rib cage. And as I'm saying goodbye, he says, "No, not yet." I heard him speak to me clear as day without his mouth moving. And it just broke me because now he gets peace as he moves on, right? I go home 2 days later, I get the call. "Hey, Mike is dead." And, again, I was afforded this opportunity to say goodbye to these men. But again, a lot of it had to do with forgiveness. I forgave them. The thing that I realized, and I realized this from my mom, when I got out of the hospital, my mom let me come live with her. My last words before I jumped out of that window to my mom were, "F you, I hate you." Those were my last words to my mom. Granted, she was also the first person that showed up at the hospital. She let me come live with her after I got out of the hospital, and she came home one day, and I broke down crying. And, I was like, "Mom, I'm just so grateful that you're my mom. Thank you." Here I am, almost 30 years old, broken to pieces, and my mom's taking care of a grown man. And for the first time in my life, I had a grown-up conversation with my mom. And my mom told me about how she was raped, how she was beaten, how she was told that she would never get pregnant. Then she got pregnant with me, and she was told that she should have an abortion. She has no business taking care of me, or that she can't take care of me. And what I realized in that moment was that my mom, just like both my dads, they had rough childhoods. They had rough upbringings. They had rough experiences. And I truly believe that all those people in my life did the best that they could with what they knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to forgive them and live life like that. You know what I'm saying? And so my mom helped me realize that we're all broken people trying to figure it out. I think for me, it's just I developed a good relationship with the Lord, and I know, what he's done in my life and what he spared me from and what he's pulled me out of. And now I make it my life's work through my book, through recovery softball, through mentoring. Like you probably have to have some pretty hard conversations when it comes to recovery. Like, I really delve into the mental health side. I mean, I have people calling me talking about how they want to kill themselves. Or I was just sharing a story today. Like, I was on the phone with a gentleman while he was doing 100 on the freeway, and you can hear him drinking from the bottle. And he's talking about how he's taken his life. And I mean, it broke me because I cared about him. And praise God that like somehow he ended up on the side of the road and ended up in a detox. But that's not always the story, man. I've walked in on my buddy who blew his head off with a shotgun because he felt so hopeless with nowhere to go that he felt like death was his only option. And I felt like I wish I would have done more to see through that, because he did that a year after I jumped out of a window, and I didn't see it. You know what I'm saying? And so, I've made it my life work to connect with other human beings, to meet them where they're at, to encourage them in their recovery, to develop a relationship with God, because there are people, the tough thing about the realm that we are in recovery is that it's getting harder and harder, and there's more people needing help. And I think there's just such a few group of us that genuinely get it, but we serve. Part of what we do is service. Part of my healing is service, right? Is to give back. I'm grateful for the life that I live. I'm grateful that I've been given a platform and a home and a family, right? I want everybody to have that. And sometimes it's meeting someone where they're at, connecting with someone that's been through something very similar, with the hopes that you can guide them in the right direction.
What, man, I was thinking about that, like, because you are right. Not only is it a lot more people that are like self-medicating with drugs and alcohol, but the recovery rate is a lot less. I mean, if we're going to get in percentages, we want to talk about recovery percentages. I think it's got to be below 5%. There's not.
Oh yeah, well we know that according, like, yes, it's really low.
There's not a lot of us that make it out.
Correct.
Most of us are going to die. I often wonder, like, with having all the technology that we have today, and that makes our life pretty cush. It seems like morally we are degrading.
Yeah, well, you're 100%, but I also believe that there's a system in place that needs people to have poor mental health and to be addicted, because there's a business in it. And there's something very diabolical.
A healed patient is a lost customer.
Correct. And so we need people on drugs. We need people broken. We need people that are shoving things in their system. It's crazy how during COVID, gyms shut down, but you can go to the liquor store, bro.
Right.
So
make it make sense.
There's money involved. There's and maybe we'll have a conspiracy theory like conversation another day, because it's not conspiracy theory. There's a lot of truth into it, but there is a select group of individuals that benefit from our pain and our agony and our addiction. And so they have to make sure that it remains that way. And we are a feeble people a lot of times. We have social media and technology in the palm of our hand. And I think for most people, it actually destroys us more than it helps us. Where we use social media to uplift and encourage, just like we're the 5% that survive in recovery, how many people are really using social media to make a change? People are using it to be passive aggressive, to put their own agendas. Like it can be very, very toxic.
Fight about politics, fight about race.
Because they need, because there's systems in place that need division. Because if we aren't coming into unity and becoming a community and helping each other out, COVID exposed that, man. COVID exposed that when you start to isolate people and you take them away from other human beings and you make them focus on their junk, like suicide went up, drug and alcohol abuse went up, domestic violence went up, like you name it. If it was negative, it went up, right? And COVID exposed that. It showed us what happens when we have social media in our hand all the time and the internet, and we're listening to fear-based news, and we're taking sides without even thoroughly understanding it anyway. Most people pick a side without knowing us. Like they don't know, they've just picked a side and they just choose to die on that hill. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's just uneducated. It's not well planned. I think that we should be able to come from all walks of life and connect with each other and help and guide and lift each other up. We should be able to do that. But there are definitely systems in place that come to kill, steal, and destroy. And that's its responsibility, while financially benefiting off of our suffering.
For sure. And then you got, society that makes drugs and alcohol look good. They show like, the fun and the drinking.
Well, that's marketing, right?
Yeah.
So marketing did that. And then people, you see things enough, you hear things enough. It's like, you're a workout guy. We're workout guys, right? We learn through repetition. We grow through repetition. And that's what our culture does. It throws repetition of like glorifying sickness, disease, evil, right? Making it like normalizing it almost. And then people just can't see through the veil, man. They're blind. A lot of them are just blind to it.
Right.
Man. Yeah, no, I mean, it's deep stuff. And I'll tell you this, I've spent 15 years, like when I got sober, I really started pressing into some stuff, man. I mean, I've been demonically attacked. I've been pinned down to my bed. I've seen things, I've heard things in sobriety. This isn't me relapsing or, sleep paralysis or anything that science or hokey, philosophy or psychology will tell you. There's a spiritual war going on. And there's two sides, and both sides want your soul, and it's a tug of war and it's a battle. And most of the time, most of us are very distracted.
Man, I seen something the other day that said how precious the soul must be for God and the devil both to be fighting over it.
And that's pretty much,
But I don't think society can see that without spiritual eyes. I don't think a person can see that without having spiritual eyes.
I agree.
I agree. So you say that, you get laughed at, you get mocked, you get,
right.
I get that perspective of it too, So, and let's be honest, if we're going to be totally honest, a lot of Christians don't make it.
Let's go.
Look,
we'll go there.
So I always go back to like what Gandhi says. He says, I love your Christ. I just don't like your Christians.
Like your Christians. I've actually posted that before. And I think it's a fair statement, because we've been Christianized and churched up, and we follow the doctrine of men. Like, we've removed Jesus from Christianity, bro. And like I have a beef with a lot. Like, Christianity is what I follow. I love Christ. That's who I follow. I mean, that's my belief system. But American Christianity in this churched up way of things, it lacks a lot. It misleads a lot. It has its own business, politics, agenda, rules. And what I tell people, it's like, I would rather carry my cross than hide behind one. You don't get to just throw Jesus out there. No, you need to walk it out. You need to walk it out. You need to stand. You need to be bold. You need to stand up for what's right. But more than anything, like, Jesus showed compassion, especially to the marginalized, to the broken, to the whore, to the tax collector, right? Like, that's what he couldn't stand, bro, is the same people we can't stand, right? Is the religious, the pharisaical. Like, you guys think you guys don't, you have a form of godliness, but you don't truly know God. You don't. And it's in your behavior. And I think that, in not all churches, I think that we've gone the wrong way with the brands of Christianity that don't glorify Christ. They glorify man. They glorify self. I am. What can I get from this? It's all about prosperity or even legalism. Like, I'm better than you.
Right. So it's both sides. Like, it's both ends of the spectrum.
Correct.
Like, so really legalistic or really lawless.
It's like this hyper grace,
or hyper truth.
Yeah, or hyper. No, the truth is the truth. Truth is always true. Truth will always be Christ. Truth is right there. It's just you get legalistic, and there's no love attached to it. You're not being led really by God. You're being
what is
led
truth with no grace?
Well, you need it. But there is grace in truth, right? Because we know that when you're walking it out, we know that Christ's love for us bestowed a lot of grace on our journey, and we need to do the same. Like, he did it for us. What blows my mind is when Christians or people in recovery don't pour out the same grace that was poured out onto them.
Yes.
Instead, they want to judge everybody. They want to shame everybody. And
I put the bottle of alcohol down, and then I'm sitting here pointing at everyone that's drinking and telling them what
and here's the crazy thing about that. And I've gotten flack by certain organizations. So I run a recovery mental health centered softball team, right? Or teams. And there are guys on my team that drink, but that's not what they're in recovery for. There are guys that can have a drink or two, and it's not a problem.
Right.
I'm not here to judge any of that. Like, if that's not your problem, but if you're coming to hang out with us because, man, your daddy molested you when you were young, and now you feel like you're in a spot where I can connect with other human beings and they're going to understand, like, bad stuff happened to me, and we're here just to love on each other and help each other out and have fun. I'm about that life, right? There are people that can drink, and it's not you and I, but there are people that can drink. And I'm not, and even with that being said, I truly believe with all my heart, I could have a beer today and it wouldn't do nothing to me, in the sense of me running back to it. And, but I just won't do it because it never served a healthy purpose in my life. It just didn't. There's nothing that drinking did that I can associate anything good with, right?
No growth.
Nothing. No drugs, no alcohol. There's nothing for me there. So I choose to stay clean. I choose to walk. And plus, I think when you're in a position like us, people are getting saved and people are getting sober because of us, right? Or because of the footprint that we're leaving. It's now our responsibility to make sure that we continue to walk that out. We don't get all the extra when you've been delegated those responsibilities. We don't get to do all that stuff, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Well, hey, what was the question, y'all?
Oh, what was the question?
I sent it to you earlier, Rob. There's a question right there. What has been the biggest gift of your recovery? And then we'll need to get a question from you before.
Well, I mean, man, being able to serve others, of course, whether it's my family, my community, my wife. And my question is, how are you serving others in your recovery? right? Stopping drinking and using is not the end game. That's scratching the surface.
Mm-hmm.
How are you giving back to others so that they can find freedom in their life, right? You found it. Now take that gift that you've been given of sobriety and freedom and clarity and faith and give it to other people. So how are you serving others?
Love it. Oh, how old are your kids?
8, 5, and 2.
8, 5, and 2. So you had all your kids in your 40s or late 30s?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, you're yours. I got my GED too, bro.
Yeah.
I think so. CJ, my oldest. Well, so I have a son that's 25 years old, and so that's a whole nother. And him and I have an amazing relationship. It wasn't until he was 18 that I could actually start connecting with him, because you know how baby mama drama is and child support and all that stuff.
Right.
And I'm not gonna, it doesn't all fall on her. It's, I was a knucklehead, right? I take ownership of that. But over the last few years, him and I have developed an amazing relationship. Now he serves the Lord. He quit drinking. He quit smoking.
Nice.
Yeah, man, he gave up the drugs and alcohol and picked up the Bible. And, my relationship with him has been able to develop into that. And I'm very proud of him, because where I wasn't there for him as a child, he's there for his daughter. And I'm proud of him for that, because that's a lot more than what I was doing at his age. But I was in my 40s when I had Gianna, and 45 when we had Violet Joy. So I was in my 40s, but I take really good care of myself, man. I'm a big kid, bro. Like, do you say? 47? Like, come on, bro.
Yeah, you look good for your age, bro.
I tell you, there ain't no clock on men. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Well, God says that He'll give you your youth back, and I believe that because I've given my life over to Him. Like, He does that for me. Oh, dude, us white boys. I know that you're black, bro. I get it. Yeah, bro.
No.
You don't crack, dude.
He's pretty white though, man.
Yeah.
Listen.
Cool. He's got nice calves and he freaking can jump, bro. It's all good.
Prison preserves you, man. I'll just tell you that. That's the point. That's the thing I have on my side, is that I did about 7 years in prison. So
yeah. Wow, really? How old are you?
I'm 37.
Yeah, see, black don't crack, bro.
It
looks 17, dog. But yeah, I have a super young family, man, and I'm grateful though. I mean, they're gonna help keep me young, and CJ playing all that baseball. Now my daughter's getting into gymnastics, and I'm sure my youngest is gonna play sports. It's like it keeps me active too. It's my responsibility as a father to stay sober, eat well, stay faithed up, man, and be the leader for my family that I never saw, and be the father. And it is not a knock on my father, but be the father that I always desired for my children. Be the husband for my wife that my mom needed. That's my responsibility now. And then it's all bonus when you give back to the community, help other people, and so.
Amen. Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm so glad you came on, bro. I love.
Yeah, it's been good, dude.
Your story. It's very powerful.
Well, thanks, man. I've been waiting, man. It took us 3 months to do this, boys.
Hey, didn't we cancel you for the Thunder?
Yeah, like 27 times or whatever. Who's counting? Nemo was like, "Hey, I'm not even gonna communicate with this fool. You guys got to handle it at this point, right?"
Yeah.
He said, "I'm done canceling on this dude."
So, what's your question for the next guy?
He already gave it to us.
I said, "How are you serving others?"
Okay. I thought you just answered it. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
So, do you shout outs, Nemo?
Let's see. Sorry, I got technical difficulties. All right, man. Big shout out to Casper. He watched the whole show, y'all. Hey, everyone that comments on here and just shows love, we appreciate you. Dustin Wixon, shout out to William Timmons, Natasha Scott, she said 49ers for life. Yeah, she's seen the Jerry Rice jersey in the background.
Another conversation, bro.
Princess Leo, Danny Ann, Ryan Ellis, Kimberly Wilcoxon. Let's see. I don't want to say names twice. Jason Rios, Aaron Ermine. I'm doing good this time.
You are, yeah. I can't bust your balls
Even
too much.
Russell, I know. I knew you were sitting there monitoring.
Yeah, I'm following you.
Crystal Chesbro. They be having the hardest last names, y'all. Jana, see, I'm not even gonna tip that. Go for it, Jana. What? Right here.
Which one?
This one right here.
Jana Piranek.
All right, sorry, Jana.
Hey, can I throw something out there though?
Do it, man.
You know, if anyone that's listening today, you know, needs to get a hold of me, you know, sometimes, you know, you just need someone to listen to you, or, you know, you need some advice. You know, you guys can find me on social media, but if you go to rob@riseslines.org, you know, I will always return texts. I will call you. I will return emails. I will make sure that I can connect with you. And I just want to leave that out there for everybody.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yes. The more resources, the better. And just like I said in the beginning of the podcast, and Rob, you messaged me on Messenger and just spoke life into me when I was going through stuff. And I do appreciate that, man. I'm sure you do it for many people. And like you said about your words being powerful, you know, I truly believe death and life are in the power of the tongue.
All the tongue, baby.
All about how am I speaking to myself? How am I speaking to others? And sometimes, man, I do react in anger because I feel like, you know, my ego gets bruised. And so I'm going to make you suffer because how you just made me feel. But
I'm going to have the upper hand on this situation, right? Because I'm not going to let you win.
Right. And then, but I know that we get what we put out there in this universe.
Yeah.
You know, whatever your belief is, whatever your belief system is, that absolute truth is fact. Whatever
absolute truth, right?
Whatever you put out there comes back, you know. And so I'm just trying to put good out there, and because I put enough bad, and I'm sure every one of us have.
Amen.
And we got a lot of making up to do. So
we got a lifetime of I'm sorry's and may I help you to do.
Yeah.
So
hey, Chris, didn't you have a shout out or something?
I got two things. So today when I'm part of Oklahoma City, South Oklahoma City Chambers of Commerce now. Today I met this lady. She works at the Virtue Center. They're doing breakfast with community leaders hosted by the Virtue Center's board of directors. It's Friday, August 15th from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. It's
so a week from tomorrow.
Yeah, it's at the Virtue Center in Norman, Oklahoma. And another thing I wanted to say is, like, if you guys want to be a guest on Been Around the Block, reach out to me, DM me. I'll get you on the calendar. We'll get you guys ready. We might have to cancel sometimes, but you know, we'll get back to you.
We're getting used to the new schedule, you know.
It's cool.
Oh, we didn't. We're about to be in a real studio.
I mentioned that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the first thing I mentioned.
How distracted I've been.
Yeah, that's cool. You know,
we really appreciate everything, Rob. Rob, man, you did an amazing job. I really enjoyed your story. I've been watching you on Facebook, man. I'm one of those people that, like, I'll watch people on Facebook and see what they're doing, and I see you doing all these amazing things with your life.
Well, you know, pick up God's Awning, guys. It's on Amazon. If you read the book, please leave a review. And the reason that we need that kind of stuff is so that when people look up like mental health and spirituality or addiction and Christianity, it's like my book that they'll be geared toward. And so that's a big reason why I request that as well. So I'm actually on my way to head out to the ball fields because a local TV station wants to run a segment on us. So I got to get going, boys.
All right, man. We
appreciate you, dude.
Thank you, fellas. It was a pleasure, man.
Our pleasure.
Man.
gentlemen. All right, here, let me throw that music up there. Bam. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
I got $25 for this walk
Run
around
back.
sit down
Big
chair.
boo. Stay on for a second, Chris. I got a question for you.